I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you ready for roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay. Commissioner Amon? Present. Commissioner Christensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Halley?
Here.
Vice Chair Nichols?
Yes.
Chair Kine?
Here. Wonderful, thank you very much. So we will move on to our next order of business, which is oral comments from the public. First, I'll see if there's anybody on Zoom. We have nobody on Zoom, and I'll see if there's anybody in the crowd. Seeing none, I look to close public comment.
I'll
Okay. Can I get a second?
There's no motion or second for closing public comment. Thank you, though.
There is with the supervisors. All right. So number 3, we'll go to consent calendar, which in this case will be confirming the minutes from our last meeting, which was March 25th. Does anybody have anything to?
You and I weren't here, so.
And I didn't ever see them, so I can't comment.
I didn't see any issues with the minutes myself, so.
I will make a motion to approve minutes from March 25th, 2025.
Seconded?
Now you say all those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, we'll be moving on to our next part of the agenda, which is evaluating the draft fiscal year 2025-2026 capital improvement program for the general plan. And I'll turn it over to staff.
Bear with me one moment as I pull up the presentation. There we go. Good evening, Chair Kine and Honorable Planning Commissioners. I'm Sherry Meads, your Community Development Director. And as noted, I am going to be presenting the 2025 Capital Improvement Program General Plan Consistency item. And let's just get right to it. So this gives a brief overview of what a capital improvement program is, and the most important thing to note is it's a way for the city to identify needed capital improvement projects and coordinate their financing and timing. As you can imagine, running a municipal government, there are tons of competing priorities, and so it's really important for the city to take a look at how much money we have to spend and therefore prioritize the most impactful projects. And so the capital improvement program assists in implementing general plan goals and policies that are related to city infrastructure. Again, they work together to figure out how to spend money on things like parks, land and buildings, streets and storm drains, wastewater collection, and so on. So some of the things that are considered when prioritizing the CIP projects to add to a year or to begin constructing that may already be in the capital improvement program are, do they affect health and safety? Those always have to go first. You know, is this something that if we don't do it could impact health and safety? We also look at if not including it means that the damage will continue or that there will be long-range consequences by not taking care of the situation in the next year, or at least starting it. Also, it eliminates liabilities experienced in the past. We also have to look at what our state, federal laws, public and other agencies mandate us to update and maintain on a schedule. Again, we look at the relationship to established city goals and objectives, and obviously the probably most important thing with the public health and safety is what is going to improve the quality of life for our community members.
Sherry, can we ask questions during this?
So she will provide her presentation and her staff report, and then there will be a chance for the commissioners to ask questions at the end.
So the first project that is added this year is the wastewater treatment plant digester repair and evaluation. So the wastewater treatment plant has a floating thing, if you will, that determines the amount of methane and water in it. And I want to see what it's called because I don't want to call it a floating thing. Floating dome. It's called a floating dome. And on December 5th, 2024, it experienced some earthquake damage. You can see one of the cracks here. There are additional cracks also on the dome, and it's has not been fixed. And needless to say, a stuck dome could be a problem because air can get under the dome and mix with the methane, leading to potentially an explosion, or most likely the dome would get stuck, which would force staff to take the digester offline and cause interruptions in service and potential fines if we have to do something that we don't plan to do with our waste. So this project will look at fixing the cracking. Here you see one example of it. And then also, no one has gone into the digester since that earthquake to be able to determine if there was any internal damage to the digester. So that's something that through this project, they'll be able to schedule a time to take it offline and have an expert go in there and evaluate it for any potential damage that we don't even know is there. Okay, I must have skipped one of the projects, so let's get back. Go back. Yeah, here we go. Ooh, I'm too quick with the draw. So these are the two projects that were added, the water meter radio change out and then the digester repair, which I've already mentioned. So we'll go into the water meter radio change out now. So this project it's very technical in nature, and all of us have water meters that are keeping track of how much water we use, what goes out to the sewer, that type of thing. And so staff has to read those water meters in order to figure out how much you owe on your monthly bill. And they're currently using a 520R radio read meter reading device, which is near the end of its life expectancy. And also it's causing real inefficiencies with reading the meters because since they only have a 1 watt power rating, the drivers are having to get really close to it, sometimes having to stop, sometimes having to go back and forth to get the reading. And it's not a efficient use of time, and it also does not allow for the city to do things like advanced metering infrastructure, which the new type of radio, the SmartPoint 520M, it's a two-way radio, and it will allow the city to monitor leaks in real time. So if something shows up as like, whoa, all of a sudden this is, there's a 500 gallon per minute thing going on over here, then they're able to know that there's something wrong, and we can contact the customers, and or if it's within city infrastructure, head out and try to fix it. How it works now is you would have to just find out through a really big bill or through the reading the next month that all of a sudden you've gone from, say, 2,000 gallons a month to 10,000 gallons a month. This will prevent that. So it helps with certain general plan goals as noted here, but it also helps with our city's goal to reduce water waste and being more water efficient. And I think I'm going to go back to the regular way of moving the slides because I did not mention how the wastewater treatment plant digester is consistent with the general plan goals. But as you can see here, the general plan includes goals that require and ensure the efficient and timely delivery of services, and that requires well-maintained infrastructure. So this project is not these projects. This project is simply evaluating the two new projects for their consistency with the general plan. So the environmental review it's exempt because it's an administrative activity that will not result in direct or indirect physical environmental changes. It's exempt because common sense says that this, recommending that this is consistent with the general plan is not going to cause any direct physical change in the environment. And each of the projects as they go forward, if there is work that has to be done, it has to have its own environmental review. Could be that it's exempt anyways, but it will go through its own environmental review required by state so that we don't miss anything. And what happens next? So if the commissioners find that the two new projects added to the capital improvement program are consistent with the general plan, it will move forward to the city council on June 2nd, where it would be the actual capital improvement plan program will be adopted as part of the budget adoption process. And that is how it happens every year. And I'm struggling with my words tonight, so thank you for bearing with me. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
If you have any questions, please make sure you unmute your microphone, please.
Sherry, I'd like to know, from working on general plans, the wastewater and the water systems have to be evaluated for the housing elements and for urina numbers and stuff like that. This doesn't appear to be anything that conflicts with that.
That is absolutely the truth. And the Public Works Department has to do a water management plan I think it's every 5 years. And anytime there's a project that would potentially add more than 100 residential units would have to do its own individual water supply assessment. So these are just things that are going to help us keep the level of service that we have now. It's not going to improve it, but it's going to keep it from failing or getting worse.
Then I move forward to approve it and send it on to the next.
Sorry. Are there any other questions from the commissioners?
In the CIP that was sent over to us, I had one question concerning the septic or wastewater extension on Hilltop Road. I know this is one of those projects is down the line, but if that were to happen, would the section that it connects to beyond the county line be possible to be annexed, or would that just be a service provided to them?
So everything that's in the capital improvement program has been evaluated in prior years for general plan consistency. So this tonight is strictly the two new ones. And I invited our deputy city engineer, but he had other obligations this evening. I'm happy to, if you forward me an email, look into that and get back to you with an answer, but I don't have that information at this time.
Any other questions? All right, well, we have a motion to accept.
Public comment.
Thank you. I'm sorry. You're right. Public comment, is there anybody online?
Not that I can see.
Would anybody on the floor like to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment. And again, there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Well, I will second. Roll call vote, please. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right. And then moving on to our next item, Planning Commission staff communications. But before we get to that, unless Sherry was going to do it already, I would like to introduce our two newest commissioners, Tina Christensen and Colt Amon. Welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining the board and participating with us for the city. And I'll
Well, you stole my thunder on those two.
Yeah, I have
So
to say
yes,
something.
absolutely, we welcome you, and we will be contacting you to come in at your convenience to take the oath of office for planning commissioners. And I also want to introduce to you our new senior administrative assistant, Stephen Merced Casanova, who comes to us as a graduate from Humboldt State University with a degree in geology. He's worked in the dirt. He's been a budget analyst for parks for the state, and he is incredibly helpful already. And this job is a tough one because there's so many things and so many different things. It's difficult to get used to any one thing because the next thing's going to be different. And he's handled everything with aplomb and a great attitude, and I'm incredibly thankful that he's here.
Thank you so much, Sherry, for the wonderful introduction, and I'm very happy to be here, commissioners, and I'm so excited to help and serve the city of Fortuna.
And I'm very thankful that you're here too, because these women work hard. They've been working hard, so they need help. So great, good.
And I don't really have any other communications except to say that we will have 2 items coming up at the next agenda. One is a sign design review and one is a minor subdivision. So that's pretty exciting. And we are trying to finish up 2 other minor subdivisions to bring to you at the June, I think it's the 10th meeting, but no promises until I get conditions of approval and finalize all the little things that are outstanding.
So, I'm not too sure how to, so when we get the subdivisions and that, we will be given an opportunity to go out to the sites and stuff like that, to review them?
So typically, the agenda is posted the Thursday before the meeting, so you would have from Thursday until Tuesday, and I highly recommend site visits. I think it's a great idea. Stephen and I have been doing those because I want him to understand as a planner, it is our responsibility to not just look at things on paper. We need to see what it is that we are either recommending approval for. Obviously, you're the ultimate decision maker, but staff has to make a recommendation of either approval or denial. And so I think unless you go out there, it's very difficult to do that. So I highly encourage you to do that.
And do you keep us apprised of any new state guidelines, new city guidelines that we might, he and I might not be aware of? I'm sure they are, but.
Yeah, I will tell you that there will be some ordinances coming forward. I'm not sure if any of them will have to go to Planning Commission first, but there are a lot of regulations that the California Department of Housing and Community Development are after us to update because we are non-compliant with them. And so as time allows, I will be bringing those forward. Things like updating the ADU ordinance, changing creating one definition for transitional and supportive housing, changing in the zoning code that they have to be allowed in any residential zone without any discretionary approval, things like that. So,
Yeah, being in the real estate industry, we're so much more aware of all those things, so it makes it, I don't mean to speak out sometimes, but if you're not in an industry that deals with it all the time, it's hard to keep up because there have been so many new implementations and things that seemed really hard to begin with, the sprinkler systems, the solar panels, they are all coming around to be more affordable for housing, and that's really something I'm looking at. So.
I don't mean to interject, but we're kind of getting off topic, off the
Oh,
agenda.
okay.
So this can be a conversation had offline, but we need to kind of revert back.
All right, Sherry, is that everything?
that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. So if that is it, I look for a motion to adjourn. So moved. Seconded. All in favor? All opposed? All right, we're good.